Greetings YouTube. Today I'm going to be looking into the new Spectral mode in Serum 2. So without any further ado, I'm going to get right on into it. For today's video, I've prepared out a little loop so we can make a sound in context, and the groove sounds like this. Insert turnaround at the end there, which is exactly what we're going to do. So I've got a MIDI set out here, and I've just got an initialized patch here. The new Spectral mode is a sample based oscillator where you can drag in a sound and it will resynthesize that sound using harmonic information and inharmonic information, and it's also got really accurate transient detection, so it's kind of like a sampler in a way that you can warp the playback speed and still retain a lot of the integrity of the sound. So it's really useful for creating these really abstract sounds because it gives you so much control over the individual partials of the sound. Let's just drag in a nice bass sound for this. Let's maybe go with this. Bring the octave up because sometimes it's not on the right octave. And we can play with the playback speed with this scan knob here, and anywhere behind 50% is in reverse. I bring in this endpoint. What I'll do is I'll keep it going forwards for this particular example. These sliders on the right side can constrain the frequency spectrum. These bright areas are the harmonic content, and the darker areas in between are quieter harmonics and also noise components of the sound. You also have this built-in filter, which allows you to tweak different parts of the spectrum. So as you can see, as I'm moving that through, you're getting these alterations in the frequency spectrum, so I can bring up the brightness of all of those midtones there. I'm just gonna change the scan speed. And move this filter. Already we're getting a pretty interesting sound out of this. But what we have now in the warp settings, when you're on spectral mode, you have the option of all of these spectral warp modes, and these are really what makes this such a powerful engine for creating awesome sounds. So what we can do is we can detune the harmonics. And we also have this warp variation slider. Which gives us subtle differences, nothing major there. We have the smear, which just dampens the sound a bit. The spread, which completely pulls apart the sound. My God, this is such a powerful tool. You can make some really glitchy robotic effects with this. We got the harmonics option, which takes whatever harmonic information is already there and by the looks of it just multiplies it up. So that's pretty powerful. And the subharm looks like it's a similar sort of thing, except going downwards, so it's filling out the lower end of the spectrum. And then if I cut off a little bit of them lows as well. Gate. So that's clearly taking anything that's below a certain threshold and just cutting it away completely. When you turn it up quite a lot, then you only end up with the very loudest harmonics. which could be quite useful by the seams of it. The robot eyes, honestly, I can't tell what that's doing. Shift. That's just moving everything in the spectrum. And mirror is just mirroring all of the harmonics, and it definitely gets super intense. So I'm not going to play that. Peak follow. I still have yet to play with a lot of these warp modes. Harmonic sweep, that's got quite an interesting tone to it. Not entirely sure what it's doing. A shepherd tone, ooh, interesting. So that's just shifting all of it with a gap between each of the bits that it's isolating. Probably quite useful for making your own rises and stuff like that. And oh, look, there's the negative version there where it's got much bigger portions that it keeps, but it's cutting away just a small portion, again, in those evenly distributed partials. That way you can, again, make rising effects. Or falling effects. Comb, pitch shift. And phase twist. Ooh. That's kind of like a smearing type effect by the seams of it. Not doing particularly much on this sound. Cuts quite a lot away from this. You can mask from other oscillators by the looks of it. Interesting. Let's do a square. Whatever's masking this, it's going to be subtracting the harmonics based on whatever you're using as the mask. For this instance, since I used a square, it's going to be everything that's not these even order harmonics here. So it becomes quite thin, but you get the concept. And you also have vocode. This is probably like the opposite of the mask feature. So rather than subtracting from what is modulating this, it's taking the harmonic information from that and transferring it and applying it to this. For now, I think I'm just going to go with the spread. Okay, for this, I think maybe I'll use the detune. And I'll put it on a LFO, which can be a bar long. Set that to envelope, so it only plays once. We can set another warp mode here as well, so I'll just put on the spread. And I'll have that modulate the opposite direction. Nice. We get some cool textures out of that. Let's get this to go through the filter, which it already is routed to the filter by the looks of it. Let's set that to a high pass. And then let's set up a sub bass as well. Set the random down for that. And then what I'll do is I'll distort these two together. Then we should get a nice fusing of both of these sounds. Maybe the asym, because I do like the asym distortion very much. Let's go with soft clip instead, maybe. So with this, it definitely can be very messy. So you just got to play around with all the settings until you find something that is appealing to you. Let's try adding a pitch bend into the MIDI. Okay, so we got the minor third there and then the fifth at the end. So what I'll do now is I'll continue playing with the settings until I find something a bit cleaner. So I'm playing with the scan and all the spread and detune features. That way you can go back and forth until you find something that is sitting nicely. Let's get an automation on the cut as well. So a lot of these work. So I'm just going to have to commit to one of these. Nice. What I can maybe do is get a little volume automation on the main oscillator here. Just set that to a bar also. So now I'm just cutting out a bit of that muggy middle part and making it sound a bit cleaner. And what I can do now is go into the effects section and set up another filter movement. Let's go with maybe something that cruises around somewhere in the mid-range and then goes up towards the highs, and just set that on a notch. That way we've got a bit of movement going. And get another bit on the top side of that with another notch. And then I'll get a phaser because that will also add a bit more movement. I'll turn the depth and the rate all the way down. That way I can get my own control. And I might just have this dip in and out using the other modulation that I assigned on the volume of the main spectral oscillator. And then I'll just turn the mix way down for that. Sounding pretty deep and dark. What I'll do is I'll add a compressor, put that on multiband mode. And then maybe add a bit more distortion because I'm now feeding it a much more consistent signal. Nice. The soft saturation distortion definitely does some nice things to this. And what I'll do to finish this off is just add on a extra filter at the end. And this is going to be the main tidy up. What I can do is I can just cut away all of the nasty high frequencies that I don't want. Yeah, that sounds about right. I might add a flanger onto the end as well. Turn the rate down so it's just a fixed delay. And I think I might use that first envelope, which is going down. And then I might mix that out by quite a lot. Seeming about right. Do some final tweaks on this oscillator. Just cutting a little bit more of the low mids out because they were getting a bit messy. So at this point, I could exit the patch and maybe go into do a little bit more tidy up with some EQ. Get rid of some of the unnecessary frequencies in this low mid area. And then to top things off, I might go ahead and add in a Valhalla room just to put it in a space. I'll go with maybe one of the halls, set a nice short decay time and not much mix at all. I think probably about 15% will do. And I also want to cut all the low end out of the reverb because I don't need any of that. I'll also make it a bit darker by cutting off some of the high frequencies of this reverb. And then what I can do is I can also route it into this sidechain that I have here. Now, in context of the rest of the groove, sounds pretty dirty to me. That is going to conclude this video. I hope that gave you some insight into what's possible with the Spectral synthesis engine that's just been added. I can already tell that this is going to be a really powerful tool for sound design, and I can't wait to experiment with it a bit more and just see what kind of crazy sounds I can come up with. If you want to see more videos, you know how to support. But for now, I will see you on the next one.